Ogden, were you speaking?
I can hear you, Corinne.
All right, thanks. No, I wasn't making sure that my mic was working. I was making sure I could hear people. Sometimes you go a little crazy with these virtual meetings.
Totally understand.
Thank you, Lance. I appreciate it.
All right, morning everyone. I just wanted to put the agenda up here and see as Corinne, are you fine functioning as chair today?
Oh, yes, I am.
Okay. Can you just call us to order and then we can work through the, action items and
All right,
presentations. Appreciate it.
sorry. Okay, I'll call this meeting to order at 10:02. And then next we have public comment. Did you get anybody that wants to speak, Nick?
Kelly, Grace, have we received anything?
No, we have not received any public comment.
All right. Would anyone like to make a public comment? All right, I take that as a no.
Okay, all right. Next, we're moving on to action items. Kelly, do we have a quorum?
Yes, we do.
All right. Does anyone want to make a motion for approval of the meeting minutes for February 9th, 2026?
I move.
Motion to approve. This is Jennifer.
Okay, I got Jennifer Fairs with a motion to approve. Do I have a second? And please say your name.
Danny Williams will second.
Danny Williams will second. Okay, I'm going to do an all opposed. Anyone who's opposed, please say aye. All right, motion passes. All right, the next we have approval of new members. Nick, did we receive any new members?
I do not believe we did. Grace and Kelly, can you confirm?
Yeah, that's correct. We have not received new members.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll move out of action items and go right into reports and presentations. And first up, we have FDOT.
Okay, is there anyone from FDOT here today?
Yes, this is John Kabicki.
Okay, do you need the screen or is it just maybe a verbal update?
I will here, I guess I can share my screen really quick. I just have a couple slides. I
Alright.
just wanted to make you guys aware of it. Slide. All right. See. Sorry, I gotta get it on the right screen here. Share. Screen. And then come here. Share. And let me slideshow present. Can you guys see the slide on achieving target zero policy and expanded criteria?
Yep, it's up.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. John Kabicki here in the safety office, safety work program manager underneath the GEC support for the Department District 1 Safety. But I'm here just to talk a little bit about the achieving target zero and the new target zero policy that was signed by the secretary. And so it's a little bit different take on things that we've already been doing, but it kind of cements into our policy the need for comprehensive look at it. And so the biggest things that it brings in are cementing in our education, our engineering, and then our engagement. So it just kind of highlights those items of saying we want to break out those three things. Um, it's saying that we'll come up with different strategies to address these three. And so we've already been using the HSIP funds, the Highway Safety Improvement Program funds for implementing projects. We've also been working on with the NHTSA elements on the education side, but now it's kind of also including the outreach as a separate method to the education. And then one of the biggest changes is let's actually go and see what kind of behavioral elements we're actually seeing come out of it. So if we're going to implement a pedestrian hybrid beacon, for example, that we're actually looking at, okay, well, how are people using that pedestrian hybrid beacon? We've done this in the past, but we haven't necessarily drilled down into the actual human factors that go into it. And so that understanding, one of the more common ones that we do is we'll do before and after evaluations at a pedestrian hybrid beacon to see if people are using the equipment or not. There was a study that we did on US 92 in Lakeland, and everybody kept coming to us and saying, well, hey, none of the pedestrians are actually using the pedestrian hybrid beacon. And so we started looking into the data, and sure enough, it wasn't a high number of folks using the two-stage pedestrian hybrid beacon. They'd push the button in one direction and not always in the other. As well as there were a lot of people that were crossing outside the crosswalk. So we started to go, okay, well, what's going on? We started looking at the compliance of the actual drivers. And we were seeing numbers in the 25 percentile not stopping on the all red phase. So just to put that in perspective, US 92 in Lakeland is a 4-lane highway. So we're talking about 25%. So that's one of the 4 lanes is actually not stopping on the all red phase. And so I think what we were seeing is a lack of comfort on the pedestrian side of people actually complying. And so they're crossing outside of when the cars are coming and making their own decisions and not using the equipment the way it's intended. And so what can we do to look at those behaviors and try to address them? And so that's what we're going to be coming up with additional strategies on. And so as we're talking about that, I want you guys thinking about that too, so that we can work together to address behaviors and track them. So that was the big one that I wanted to hit on, is just making you all aware of this new policy and new guidance that came from the department. If there's any other questions, please let me know.
Does anyone have any questions for John? Thank you, John. Appreciate you bringing us up to speed on the policy that was pushed forward. It's good for us to know so we can align.
Yeah, and that the non-compliance is that is quite high, but I can say from our Destination Zero video shoots, there's a lot of education that still needs to go on. Because you could certainly have almost a false sense of security where one lane stops and then you think you're good, and then others just blow right past. So glad you guys are looking at that.
All right. So thank you, John. Appreciate you attending these meetings and sharing the most up-to-date information from the state. Next, we have MPO reports.
Yep, I can just share my screen here. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I thought right now would be a good time to do an interim safety report. This is kind of a two-parter looking at 2025. Now that data is more or less finalized, it'll probably fluctuate a little bit from past experience, but it's by and large in, and it's quite interesting to look at. So just as a quick reminder, the MPO is mandated to follow these 5 safety performance measures: the number of fatalities, the rate of fatalities, the number of serious injuries, the rate of serious injuries, and the number of non-motorized fatalities and serious injuries. And as I'm sure everyone knows, as part of being the Destination Zero committee, where we once again, the MPO board affirmed that no death or serious injury is acceptable, and we've aligned with FDOT on setting 0 for our adopted safety targets for another year. So 2025 in review, we saw 21,972 crashes, 80 fatalities, 720 serious injuries, and the total counts for bike ped fatalities was 34, and serious injuries for bike ped users is 126. And I also just wanted to plug that we have a dashboard where you can look at the fatalities in the region from, I believe it's 2014 to now 2025 now, and I can show that a little later. You can filter it by year, crash type, and number of other basic factors, and it's quite interesting to look through, but I'll return to that after this presentation and to show you guys how to use it. So putting 2025 into the annual graphs, I thought it'd be useful to compare both the 2014 and 2020. So with fatalities, we're back to 2014 levels, which again, the goal is 0. So that's still 80 too many people who died on our roadways last year, but it's at least heading in the right direction. And similarly, for serious injuries, which as long as I've been doing these updates continues to decline, which again, it's the good direction, but these serious injuries are also in many cases life altering, and 720 is certainly better than say 2016 where it was 1800, but it's still far too many. And then honing in on bike ped fatalities and serious injuries, we're still seeing more modest drops, which shows if it's a bike and car conflict, cars obviously much heavier and presents more of a safety concern, and these are where the MPO and FDOT have been targeting a lot of their investments to try to accelerate the trend down. So then this takes the same data and looks at it as a rate. So we have our required fatality and serious injury rates per 100 million vehicle miles traveled. And these rates are important because, as a growing region, just looking at raw numbers is oftentimes doesn't really get the full picture. And I also included the fatality and serious injury rate per 100,000 population based off the census and American community surveys to kind of capture that as well. For many people, myself included, it's a little easier to visualize these rates as a proportion of population rather than hundreds of millions of vehicle miles traveled. And again, combined with the falling total count as well as increasing population and increasing miles driven, we're seeing those decline pretty substantially as well. So comparing that, what does that mean for the 5-year rolling averages, which is how we're required to track these? We see in the 2021 to 2025 time band compared to 2 cycles ago, it's decreases across the board, but again, other than total crashes, which is to be expected with hundreds of thousands of more people. But again, we're seeing the fatality and serious injury overall numbers decrease, but the bike ped fatalities and serious injuries, while technically in the green, still have a lot of work to do. Minus 0.9% is effectively flat. And then on the rightmost column, we have projections for what we can probably expect for the 2022 to 2026 time band. And it looks like the trend is set to continue decreasing. But again, still a long way to go. And I'll lump in just a crash update for the year so far. And this is always a struggle because Signal 4 runs on which is where we source the crash data from. It runs on, at minimum, a 2-month lag. So if I was to take the crashes that occurred by, today's date, then it wouldn't include that 2-month lag. And so to get around this, I looked at the loaded date instead and compared this year to last year, because the loaded date is actually when it's publicly available on Signal 4. So there could certainly be, I wouldn't take this as too, I don't know, scientific, because there could be multiple factors that impact which crashes are loaded. Like, I don't know what staffing looks like at Signal 4, really the whole process of what could affect potentially more delays one year to another. But so far, it looks like we have by April 11th, it's pretty much in line for fatalities, both bike ped and overall. And then serious injuries, looks like we have a little less right now. And I always like throwing these up because you can kind of see the ratio, I suppose, where you can see that the pedestrian type crashes are much more fatal. It's just compared to serious injuries. You can see 5 fatalities, 10 serious injuries, and similar for bicycles, it's 5 fatalities and 15. But again, these vehicle on vehicle crashes with high amounts of serious injuries are certainly not to be minimized or ignored, because these are often life-altering injuries. So we can see left turn crashes have a high incidence of fatalities and serious injuries, whereas rear end, with the available data, has 0 fatalities but 32 serious injuries, and then head on, surprisingly, is just 5 serious injuries and no fatalities. So to close out the 2026 report, we're seeing definitely similar to prior years, a definite focus on the bicyclists and pedestrians as far when compared to the overall numbers, which is something we have been seeing, but this number is a little higher. I believe it's normally at least in the last 2 years, it's been around 30%, whereas so far we have 44%. But again, with the inherent delay, as well as any other issues with the data being processed, we'll unfortunately have to just wait and see once the year ends to kind of make a real comparison. But I still felt it was important to kind of chart where we're at right now. And with that, that's it for that presentation. And I can take any questions while I pull up the web tool that I showed briefly at the beginning.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Appreciate you providing this information. Does anyone have anything for Nick? Questions, comments?
Corinne, I've got one.
Yes, John.
Yeah, Nick was just going to give you a little bit of the data too. And so, as you mentioned, this is preliminary for 2026. It's the state does prioritize the look on the serious injury and fatal data. But one thing I will point out is it's actually not really Signal 4 that's doing a lot of that evaluation. It's the Signal 4 is grabbing Florida Highway Safety and Motor Vehicle crash data. So law enforcement will upload the data to Florida Highway Safety and Motor Vehicle. Then the data gets grabbed from Florida Highway Safety and Motor Vehicle and brought into the Signal 4 analytics. And then the department will actually validate the data to make sure that it happened where the data is showing it happened. And that's kind of the lag that happens on our end of making sure that the location's in the right spot. And then the Florida Highway and Safety Motor Vehicle does their own kind of check from the law enforcement side on the crash information. So I hope that kind of helps. We
Yeah,
really
no, that
just view it.
Yeah, no, that appreciate the background. And yeah, and as I check in pretty often, you can kind of see some of that QC going on where locations are fixed and different things throughout the whole year. It's definitely a living data set for sure. And
Yeah.
you bringing up the multiple agencies uploading it again, that kind of adds another thing of, it's hard to control for all that and say, you know, it takes an average of, I don't know, exactly 2 months to be processed, when in actuality, some departments might, or agencies might upload at their different schedules or what have you. But yeah, it's definitely very preliminary, but for, still worth looking at for sure.
So
Yeah.
Augustina, oh, sorry, John, did you?
I was just gonna say for the serious injury and fatal data, it's that's where we're really putting a lot of the prioritization in, so that it's really kind of like a 6 month, really it's probably less than a 6 month lag between when it's uploaded to when the department is trying to validate the information. So that's in there. I'll go ahead and put in the chat just for everybody too, some of the crash data guidance and all that, so it kind of has a little bit more background of how the data gets there, just so if anybody wants some additional reading.
Don't we all love additional reading? Thank you, John.
No problem.
Oh yeah.
Augustina wants to know if the KSI crashes are predominantly on county roads or state roads and interstate roads.
That's something I believe we've looked at before. I didn't look at it for this one, but I think for the KSI it was a lot more. I think county roads were the leading system, but that's something I can run again for 2025. It shouldn't be too hard to summarize that.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Ogden, if you have questions or have something to say, I mean, feel free to use the chat if your mic isn't working. Danny just has a comment about addressing the high number of crashes on the high injury network, because they're focused more on obviously fatalities and serious injuries. Just some key facts there that he found from the safety data that you provided. So it's good. Oh
Okay,
yeah,
great.
Danny got the answer for you. Lots of numbers in there. What I do find interesting about the data is that it's on the decreasing trend, which is consistent with the dangerous by design report, that even though our urbanized area continues to remain in the top 20, I've seen it get lower and lower each time. And so I think that whether that's from remaining consistent and having more population, or whether that means the things that we're doing are working, or just like higher volume years are rolling off the rolling average. I can't say. I'd like to think it's a combination of all the things, in particular the benefits of all of the great work that everybody's doing. I think your previous study that you presented is a really great example of how we can document those benefits. So
Under the safety countermeasures,
yeah,
performance
yeah,
monitoring, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great initiative that you guys put on. So keep monitoring that and keep updating that for us, because I think that's beneficial for all the jurisdictions and just for people to know that exists, so we can point to something and say, hey, this shows X% decrease and it's in the field, so we can see that. It helps us justify putting in more of these treatments in other locations that have similar trends and
Yeah,
issues.
absolutely. And yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Corinne. And that's also, as an ongoing thing, we're trying to, for some background, if people didn't attend previous meetings where that was presented or are newer, is the MPO is trying to keep a kind of running database, I guess you could call it, of just a combination of local and FDOT treatments, and kind of just documenting all the improvements made in the region, because we're very much aware of the ones that we're prioritizing and putting money on. But as Og did, and I'm sure a lot of our other agency partners can attest and have presented on before, there's a lot of local improvements going on that maybe we're a little less aware of and are good to document. And
Hey, can I add something
Yeah.
real quick? Sorry, I don't know how to raise my hand on this. I'm on the
You can just
I'm not
talk,
on the app.
Patrick.
Okay, I'm on the webpage.
Just announce yourself.
It's weird.
Yeah, I mean,
Teams.
I have so we do on an annual basis, we have a safety metrics component that we do where we isolate Sarasota County on its own, and we have a standard operating procedure how to do that. And we've been tracking that every year. We hire we have interns come every year, and we run this report. I'm not. We're just wrapping that up right now, and I had to meet with them on the data. We are refining some stuff, so I don't have confidently the full report to show you on the screen and show you all our graphs and all our lines and stuff like that too. But I would say early on, we're looking at also when we isolate just for Sarasota County, we're looking at positive trends also going downward. And like Corinne said, we're not. I'm not quite sure if it's because it's the one data set got removed or a variety of factors, but I would say generally our rates and our trends we're going downwards right now. And some of them we're doing it like just minimally in some categories, but still an improvement. And some, if you look at the historical rates that we're going down, we're actually seeing quite a significant decrease. I think one was our serious injuries, our 5-year. What was it? Our 5-year average year. A serious injury, a 5-year average, it had gone down since like 2016 by like 40%, right? So we're seeing a lot of things happening, and that's with the VMT going up and the population going up. So anyway, I just wanted to say that some of those trends that you guys are seeing in the downward, we're seeing too when we isolate for Sarasota County. And anyway, I
Yeah,
would
it's
just
good
say
to
good work. I'm
validate
glad
that
this
you guys
group's
are
talking
seeing.
about this stuff. So yep. And
Yeah,
that
so
also
is
reminded
that
me of a CTST. I think a while ago, someone had brought up like one of those like matrices where we're talking about the highly urbanized counties and stuff like that. And I think it's at one point Sarasota we're kind of out of the colored boxes, which I thought was kind of showing a nice improvement in our area too. I can't remember what that was. It was
Oh,
anyway, I don't know
it's
if you recall.
their categories. The
Yeah,
state
their
puts it out
categories.
every years for the counties and then
Yeah,
the cities.
yeah. I thought that was. I don't know if we have that to share today or not, but I just remember at that time there's probably 2 or 3 CTSTs, but I thought that was worth noting. Just
Yeah.
tracking some improvement. So
And maybe that's something that you guys can provide in the future when the CTST provides it. I know there's a lot of crossover
yeah,
for both of these. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure people already have it, but just in case, there's 1 or 2 people that don't, then we can have that in our backup agenda to share with people internally, externally, those kinds of things.
I've
All
got
right.
a
Does any,
comment. This is
yes.
so is there a way to break these statistics down by jurisdiction?
Yeah, there is.
So I
And
just know I'm aware that most of the fatalities and whatnot are on the higher speed state roads and there's to Patrick's point, the county roads are in much better state from a statistics standpoint. Another thing that I wanted to comment is Elise and I went to Hoboken, New Jersey this last week and just to check it out, and they definitely pat themselves on the back for having 0 pedestrian fatalities in the last few years actually. And then we found out after digging into it that those stats exclude the higher speed roads. So they do have fatalities on their or pedestrian fatalities. It's just they've kind of scrubbed the data a little bit. It'd be interesting to see how we compare when comparing apples to apples.
that's interesting. I don't know if I knew that.
Well, this
Well,
is what Elisa
they
told me.
removed state roads, right?
Yeah,
Not necessarily just higher volume roads. They removed roads that other people maintain, right?
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we looked
'Cause-
at just the city of Sarasota compared to the city of Hoboken, which the city of Hoboken is quite a bit smaller footprint wise, it'd just be interesting to see that. And
yeah, so some of our tracking, our performance measures, we are tracking fatalities and serious injuries on our city-owned roadways. So we just started tracking this year as a benchmark. And so we are starting to consider that with excluding our county maintained and state maintained roadways. So we can
okay.
see what we can actually impact.
Right. Okay.
Okay, and for Corinne and Pat, are those data sets like publicly available? Some of the like performance monitoring and stuff, or is that something that could be shared later? I'd be interested in looking at the more
Yeah,
fine-tuned signal that you
ours
guys are
for
talking
sure.
about.
Yeah, ours can be shared once we have our we finalize the draft right now. Just we're like going through some internal review, right, and things like that. But all our data, like our SOP, we just we go to Signal 4, right, and we and there's some like QA QC we do with the data, because sometimes like some of the data's if you just run like a standard query, right, you get like there's ones that don't belong, and then there's others that belong but are
Mhm.
showing up on the other coast and things like that, right? So there's some quality control that we do, but we will share that with you guys. Hopefully, we should finalize that report by the time our interns leave, which is at the beginning of August. So we're working through that, but we can definitely share that, and then we'll want to compare, because basically Nick, our safety metrics are modeled after the MPO, right? We did that intentionally so that we could be consistent.
Yeah, we're all
And then
speaking the same language.
yeah. So then we can look at that together, and we can see if there's anything that maybe in our methodology that we can improve based on what you guys are finding. So we'll share that when the time comes.
All right, great.
Corinne, can I make a comment?
Yes, John.
So John Kubicki again. One thing I would caution while still encouraging is you know, I personally don't necessarily agree with kind of what Hoboken did. And the reason I do that is there's a lot of land use planning. There's a lot of development reviews and all that that the department doesn't look at. And so, you know, depending on what kind of developments and what kind of traffic are put on the state highways, that's not really at the state level. That's more at the local level. And so just making sure that we're all working together so that we look at the roadways of what they need to do. I would encourage everybody to look at what City of Sarasota was doing with kind of the speed policy elements, because I do think there's some really good items in that of trying to make the state roads look more appropriate for the area. And so I think that's where we could use a lot of the locals' help on, so that we're not just dumping all the problems onto the state roads and the volume and all that kind of type items. So just kind of keep that in mind as you guys are talking and where those locations are and how we address them.
Thank you, John. I appreciate that. And this is not me saying don't advocate for your state roadways. I mean, I think that's where, you know, the local jurisdictions come into play, is advocating for those safety treatments on the roadways where it makes sense, right? I will say for the speed, the FDM or the context classification for Florida dictates like the target speeds for the roadways as they're classified from the state level. And what we did was we designated context classifications and aligned them with the state, and additionally set a policy. So we've done more than just the policy setting. We've aligned a lot of the things that we do with the state so we could be more effective in the asks and the advocacy that we do. Does anyone have any more questions for Nick? All right.
Good discussion. Yeah, I just wanted to, I'll send this in the chat, but this is just a little dashboard that we have for just takes, because we ran into an issue where everyone can get, who works for a local government or on behalf of one, or you know, an MPO or the state, can get Signal 4 access, but for, you know, the public, there's police reports and stuff in there that they don't want shared. So we kind of took 2014 to 2025 here and just like scrubbed a lot of that more personal data and just looked at fatal crashes. And as you can see here, you can filter by year to look at, you know, for example, 2025, and then we have icons that kind of show what crash type it is, as well as, you know, you can filter for nighttime, which ones were hit and run, multiple fatality, and then added an aging driver as well as you know, crash types and such. So this is if anyone has a toggle that they would like added, just let me know. I can add that pretty easily. And then you can kind of explore, and you know, the first thing is it's a lot of fatalities, which is why we're here. And then you can kind of dive a little deeper and just see, like, for example, the crash was a fatality during daytime on, this date, and then it breaks down pedestrian, motorcyclists, etc. So it might be a good resource for any member of the public who wants to dive a little deeper, or some people who they just want to look at Signal 4 data without maybe getting an account, or applying all the filters on that website and just seeing a focused fatality view. So that's all I wanted to share on that. I can send the link in the chat. If there's any questions about that, I'd be happy to answer it. All right, great.
Hey Nick,
Danny?
this is Danny. I can't figure out how to raise my hand, so I'm just gonna have to barge in. A toggle I would like to see, if the data is available, is something to do with the vehicle type, so that we can get a better eye on large vehicles and how they interact with bike ped. New York Times had an article this morning or yesterday morning, talked a lot about that, so it kind of brought it up into my mind, and realized, as far as I know, we don't have any of that. So that's
Okay,
a
yeah,
toggle
that's
I'd like to
something I
see
can.
added.
Okay, that's something I can look into and see what's available and see about making a toggle for that. Thanks for the suggestion.
Hey, Nick, if you don't mind, this is John Kabicki.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, Danny, that's a good point. Is the vehicles are getting heavier and the fronts of the vehicles are getting higher. There's you can kind of show some of the elements. I'm not sure how good the crash data specifically will be in the crash report, so just kind of keep that in mind. It could almost be misleading in a couple different ways, but it does have a vehicle body type element within the crash data. I want to be mindful that it could be hard to extrapolate some of the data, and you could almost see some weird things that come from it.
Mm-hmm. All right, great. And Danny, your question actually kind of segues into my last presentation here, if we're ready to move on to that. Let me share my screen again.
Just before you move on, how you get your hand to raise, if you click the React button, under all of the little emojis, it says raise hand, and you'll have to click it,
I
and
see.
that'll raise the
Okay.
hand, but you also have to unclick it to unraise your hand. It's not
All right.
automatic. Just for everybody's general knowledge, and thank you, Paula, for putting it in the chat.
No, I appreciate it. I don't know how to do it either. I'm used to, we're all very used to Teams or one platform or another, and hopping on Zoom's a little different. Okay, so here I have just a study update on our freight analysis, which on its face might be what does a regional freight study have to do with safety? Well, I just wanted to kind of plug this as an example of the MPO plugging in safety into all of our studies. So while our regional freight analysis, task 2 here is about understanding existing conditions. So that includes like commodity flows, actual freight movement. We also are seeking to understand the safety landscape as it currently exists. So, here we have the more traditional freight analysis portions of our report, where it's the freight activity centers, network volumes, as well as we've inventoried the exports and imports, commodity flows, how freight is moving. But we're also looking at crashes, so using the Signal 4 data as well. So I just wanted to kind of that study very briefly. So as you can see, it's one thing that surprised us was the amount of parking lot crashes. And I don't have a breakdown by severity on hand right now, but it just kind of shows how we were discussing of just seeing which roadways these are occurring on, and then also looking at on the right there at the overall severity of freight involved crashes. So you can see out of what was it, 20 something thousand total crashes. We have about pretty consistently hovering around 1,000 total crashes, and then about with a high of 14 fatalities in 1 year and 4 is the lowest in the latest year. So we're looking at that and some preliminary crash findings here are just a heat map of as well as points of fatal and serious roadway crashes. As you can see there, there's you can kind of identify the clusters with the interchanges and potentially some more interesting spots that maybe you wouldn't think of. And then another way of visualizing it, so this isn't fatal or serious on the right map here, but it's kind of looking at I-75 and just the number of total rear end crashes. You can see where that spikes. And what this is really doing is identifying issues of where, you know, it'll definitely be a factor in prioritizing prescribed improvements. And here we see commercial vehicle non-interstate roadway crashes, specifically with bicyclists and pedestrians. If there's any modes that should probably be separated or not coming into conflict, it's definitely someone on foot or on a bike versus a commercial vehicle. And this kind of helps us visualize where those points of conflict might be. And then on the right there, it's just overall crashes, which you can, it's all the areas that we're used to seeing in a lot of other safety reports, but it's certainly important to inventory and consider for the study. So all this is it's preliminary, but we're working on wrapping up task 2, and the safety data is sort of going to go forward and help inform the outcomes of this study. So I just wanted to share that as a kind of study update tailored to what this committee might be interested in. So that's all I had for freight at the moment. And if anyone has any questions or suggestions of things to look at, please let me know.
Thanks, Nick. Does anyone have anything for Nick?
I'm curious of some more granularity in that, if it's available. I'm picturing commercial vehicles and bike peds. Is it a lot of right turn actions? Is it left turn actions? I mean, I know when we have a large truck make a right turn and I'm standing at a crosswalk, the trailer tends to drag close, and that can be frightening. I know we've had cyclists hit by trucks on roundabouts. Anyways, a little more I'd appreciate more of the story on that. That's a great map, and I like the basic data, but I'd love more of the story.
Like more
Okay,
trends?
yeah, that's certainly something we can dive into, and appreciate the suggestion there.
John?
John?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, I am too. Danny, that's a good point. If we could try to find a particular location or certain trend, it would be helpful. And then Nick, just so you guys know too, we also have there's a freight office that we have and there's a freight coordinator. So when we get into that level, we can involve Dave, is his name, and he would be good to bring in because he'd probably be interested in that information as well.
Is that hoping I remember the last name right? Dave Newell, is that
Yep,
right?
that's him.
Okay, yeah. I think we've been I think me and the study team have been in contact with him. So it'll be,
Awesome.
trying to make sure everyone who has freight knowledge is involved, and I think he's been a great resource for the team and the study going forward.
Yep. Yeah, he's got a good safety mindset and trying to find the best way to get to it. I mean, sometimes it's even almost working with some of the distributors and things like that. Some of the agencies are a good method. And Danny, that's one thing we've seen is we get the mosaic trucks in Polk County and things like that, and you see some different driving behavior between them and others on the granular level because they're getting paid per haul, not per hour. So interesting things that come up.
Danny?
I guess I guess I'll take my hand down because I forgot what I was going to say. So carry on.
Those things happen. Okay, does anyone else have anything for Nick?
I remembered, so I'll try again.
Okay, good.
The parking lot data interested me because I thought for personal vehicles, parking lot crashes don't get recorded at all. Is it different for commercial vehicles? Because if it's the same, then even though that number seems high, it's probably vastly underreported, or they do it different, and I don't know which it is.
That's something I don't know off the top of my head. I would have to look at how Signal 4 kind of categorizes them. I think it's a field. I don't know. I can look into that and get back to you because I think for regular crashes it might if there's a police report, I believe it's uploaded, but I'm not 100% sure. John,
In my
some
experience with
insight.
parking lot crashes, the police show up, and if it's in a private parking lot, they hand you a exchange of information form and drive away. If there's no injuries or anything like that, but if the cars are mangled or whatever, they give you a form to facilitate swapping information with the other driver, and they leave. There's no report unless things have changed. It's been a while since I've been involved in one of those.
Yeah, I can hit a little bit. What's going to show up in Signal 4 is anything that actually has a crash report. So yeah, Danny, if they're just doing an exchange of information, they would not be, that would not show up. But they do record, if it is recorded in a parking lot, it will show up in our data, and there are a bunch of them. And then I wanted just to note there's another nuance there too, which is long form and short form. And so long form typically has when there's an injury involved, and short form is a little bit more of the quicker. It's not an exchange of information. It is an actual crash report, but it does go into the data into a little bit more detail in the long form than it does in the short form. And I will say each agency kind of handles how they and when they do different things a little bit differently. So just kind of, it is an agency by agency discretionary type item.
All right, thanks, John. All right, any other questions? If not, that's the end of the MPO updates.
Okay, all right, thanks, Nick. Appreciate everything that you shared with us.
Yeah,
All right,
thank you.
next we have the City of Sarasota Quick Build Program. So I think at the last one, there was a request for more information on what the City of Sarasota is doing with their Quick Build program. So I put together some slides to share with you a little bit of how we got to the program, some projects that were implemented from the program, and kind of where we're going next. So let me figure out how to share my screen because of all these different technology. I don't want to leave. Okay, can everyone see my screen? We're going to go with
I can
yes.
see it.
Okay. All right. So some of the, like I was just saying, I'm going to kind of share with you a little bit about where the Quick Build program stemmed from, our traffic calming program, of some of the projects that we implemented for the Quick Builds, and then some outcomes from them, and then where we're going with our traffic calming plan. So our traffic calming program has been around for years. It initially started in 1990. It's been ever evolving and reshaping as our, as time moves on. So really the program goals now are to reduce operating speeds so that way they're adhering to the speed limit, improve neighborhood livability, and enhance bicyclist and pedestrian comfort. And so the way we do this is, or the way we did this for now, was residents could reach out to the City of Sarasota and share with us their concerns about speeding or just general safety concerns related to cars on their street, and we would run them through the traffic calming program. And through this, we would evaluate the road based off of several criteria, including the annual average daily traffic, the 85th percentile, proximity to schools and parks, presence of sidewalks, and then the 3-year crash data. And so here you can kind of see a map of all of the traffic calming that is currently in the city, but what I want to show you is the little circles that, if you're colorblind, I'm sorry, that are green and red. So based off of the criteria, we would attribute points, and you can see here the total points. The green dots show that they scored between 6 and 8, and that meant that they qualified for traffic calming. And you can see the red is from 0 to 5, which they did not qualify for traffic calming and in which they got nothing. And so as this went on, a lot of the residents in our city were kind of frustrated because they felt that there were issues on the roadways, there were perceived safety issues, perceived speeding, and the results that they were getting weren't resulting in anything that would help. So through this effort, we worked with our Coalition of City Neighborhood Association Traffic Calming Committee, where we really took a deep dive into the program and we said, okay, what is the program really about? How do we make sure that we're resolving issues and making sure that neighbors know that even if they're not getting permanent traffic calming, that they're still getting something that can help resolve their issues. And so through this program, through this initiative, we tweaked the criteria and we gave more points for the 85th percentile because at the end of the day, this is a speed mitigation program. And then we also expanded the options people got based off of the score. So here you can see we started to provide treatments for areas that scored 3 or higher. So if the location scored a 3, they were eligible for things like lane narrowing, speed limit signs, just really signage and striping efforts that do have an effect. And then if you scored between a 4 or 5, you were eligible for quick build solutions, which were basically non-permanent traffic calming treatments that included striping and signage, but included other elements like flexible delineators or some sort of temporary physical installment. And then of course, if you scored the 6 or higher, you were eligible for those permanent traffic calming solutions. But if you scored a 6 or higher and it made sense to do a temporary treatment, then that was also a solution as well. So if you scored a 6 or higher, you were eligible for everything underneath 3 or 4, underneath a 6. And so really that's where our quick build program came to life. So we were basically creating a solution for people who felt like they had issues on their roadways, but they weren't scoring as high to get a solution treatment. So that's where our quick build program stems from. And here are some examples of projects that got implemented. So first is our 7th Street from Caruso Place to Bailey Road. The posted speed limit was 35 miles per hour. When we did the evaluation, they scored a 4. But when we looked at the 85th percentile, it was 35 miles per hour. So we understood that there was definitely a speeding issue here, but because it didn't score a 6 or higher, it wasn't eligible for traffic calming, those permanent traffic calming treatments to begin with. So what we did was we proposed a quick build where we choked the road in, and you can see the flexible posts here. So that way people didn't just drive over the paint. So it created that created a element in the roadway that influenced driver behavior that could be removed at any time. And so when we redid the evaluation, we saw that the 85th percentile came down to 26 miles per hour. So that's almost a 10 mile per hour speed limit reduction for some paint and some flexible posts. So we thought that was pretty successful. Next, we have Morrell Street from Lynx Avenue to Osprey Avenue. This is a location that when we did the evaluation, it scored a 4, but the 85th percentile was under the posted speed limit. So we're looking at something that there isn't necessarily a speed mitigation treatment. There's nothing to like solve there with speed mitigation. But we did notice there were 6 crashes over a 3-year period. So we decided to kind of implement the same type of treatment to narrow down certain lanes. We understand that people are coming off and going on US 301, so there is an element of trying to get people to pay attention when they turn on the road and not to just blast through when they're getting to the stop sign. So we implemented, again, those chokers with some flexible posts. And what we found in 2026, this was installed in 2024. So even though we did the evaluation in 2022, it was before we implemented the quick build program, or that the scores, getting different treatments for different scores. But then the same person came back 2024 and continued to share their concerns. So we said, okay, we'll put in a quick build. What we found in 2026 is that there's been one crash in the past 3 years. I wouldn't go as far as to say this is the reason. There could be many contributing factors to that. I will say the crashes started to die down even before we installed it. So just putting that out there, but this is just some of those statistics that we found for this area. The next one we found we did was Caliandra Drive from Beneva Road to Circus Boulevard. The posted speed limit's 25 miles per hour. When we did the scoring, they did score a 7, so they were eligible for permanent traffic calming treatments. However, I will say that this is a neighborhood road that was 36 feet wide, so think of 3 lanes of 75 running through a neighborhood. And their 85th percentile was 31 miles per hour. As I'm sure you can imagine, when you drive on the highway, you go fast because you can go fast. So what we did is we worked really close with the community. We understood that this road connects directly to across from the Bobby Jones Golf Club, and we understood that there was going to be a trail that was going to be implemented in the future. So when we worked really close with the community, they felt like a temporary bike ped path, 8-foot bike ped path on one side would be really valuable to them, because then you are delineating and identifying different facilities for different users. So we did that, and on the other side, we created parking spaces, delineated parking spaces, so that way there was a actual physical lane narrowing of the roadway. And then you can see on Beneva and Caliandra, just because turning movements, people tend to take turns really close to the curb. We put in flexible posts so that way people honored the actual turning movement. And so when we looked at what the speed limits were in 2026, we found that they were 24 miles per hour. Something to note for the speed limits, we did use different data sources. The first ones we used pneumatic tubes, and in the second one we used streetlight data, but we did use it for the same month that it was taken from original. So just take that into consideration. It's not apples to apples, but it does show us that there is speed reductions happening. So I'm sure you're thinking, well, okay, so you're seeing speed reductions, you're seeing safety benefits. So what the Quick Build program is really about is about low cost solutions only. And I just want to share that all of those solutions separately were less than $10,000. So where is this really going? Well, the Quick Build program, the traffic calming program, was really for local roadways. So we determined that we wanted to do a systems approach and really incorporate our arterials and collectors, or higher volume roadways, into this vision of slower speeds and slower streets so we can improve neighborhood livability and take action where speeding's a problem. And so we started that February of last year. And so far, we have gotten to a point where we've collected the data, we've done a citywide speed study, and from that citywide speed study, we have codified speed limit reductions, where our city commission has basically reduced speed limits on local roadways to 20 miles per hour based off of a study, and then set a maximum speed limit of 35 miles per hour on classified roadways, excluding interstate connectors. So when we think of what our classified roadways are, we think of our collector roadways, our arterials, our higher volume roadways, and a lot of them are, like John was mentioning earlier, are state roadways. So really working closely with the state as redesign or resurfacing that isn't pavement only comes in, how we can target the speed for 35 miles per hour or less, what design elements that we can incorporate to ensure that we achieve those speed limits. And that way we can start working towards this future that we're all on board for. So this is just a visual of the data sets that went into our speed limit evaluation, or I'm sorry, our traffic calming evaluation. So like I said, we did the citywide speed limit study, but we also looked at all of the other criteria that I talked about. So types of different crashes, the proximity to parks and schools, sidewalks, we looked at all of that. And so where we are right now is we've evaluated all of the roadways. We have their scores based off of that scoring criteria. We've proposed solutions. We've brought it out to the community. We collected their feedback. So now we're finalizing it, getting our planning level cost estimates for all of the treatments and prioritizing them. And our goal is to have this back out to the community this summer. So that way we can bring it to our commission for adoption in the fall. And you can see here, that's just where our local roadway, where there is a speed differential, and then our higher volume roadways are the thicker lines. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Hey,
Yeah,
Corinne.
I think the before and after really speaks for themselves, and the under $10,000 is very impressive. Just shows how much just a little bit can certainly go a long way. I did have a question. Is that map of the improvements on the Sarasota website or publicly available, or is that more internal?
So it will be. It was when we were collecting data, and then when we have all of them prioritized, we'll push a map back out for people to view.
Okay, great. And then I just had one other question for I let Danny go. So is there any appetite for, you have the flexi posts up, and then as people get used to them, is there a plan to kind of put in something more, I don't know, sturdy or permanent? Like I know there's creative approaches that I've seen in a lot of cities, like St. Louis has, uh, I don't know if I'd recommend it necessarily, but they have like concrete, almost like the balls you have at Target, set up on, especially some of those like curb turning radii, but just something more permanent, I guess, because I can certainly think of there's a intersection near me that has flexi posts, and they were great when they were first put in, but now they're all knocked over by people. One person knocks it over and then everyone else just drives over.
Yeah. So right now we adhere to what's in our engineering design criteria manual, which kind of lists out all of the available options to us. But right now, because of limited budget and fiscal constraints, we aren't looking to change materials at this time. Not saying that it can't be in the future as budgets become less restrictive, just right now, we're pretty limited with the funds we have.
Okay, no, that makes sense. And certainly it seems like they're working. So that's all I had. Thank you.
Nick, if you want, I can handle how we handle the delineators on the state road.
Danny was, or okay, because you're talking about this specific thing.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention on the state road. There's actually and Corinne, I would suggest you look into it. It's called Omega Post. Sorry. It's a delineator that is we're actually seeing really good results. It's what they're using on um for the toll facilities on the interstates in a lot of places. They just got a 3-inch diameter delineator, which now meets our APL approved products list for the state. And so we're seeing that those posts can take a ton more hits than other posts have been able to. And so how we tend to do is we'll put up temporary delineators until a larger project comes through. And then we'll change that out for concrete, but that's more on the state system, and that's more on medium modifications. But we can do them on other projects too.
Cool. Thanks, John. Omega Post. That's what I
Oh,
heard.
yep. Omega Post.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a fun name.
Danny?
Just Nick sort of touched on what I was, what's the protocol for moving from a quick build to a permanent build? If you have something that scores 4 or 5, you put in flex posts, it makes things better. Does that lower the score and then it never goes to permanent solution? Or is there something that would move a project from temporary to permanent?
So right now it's kind of the former. We're looking at it just stays that way. But like I said, if funds become available and we run out of things to do, I think there are opportunities to make them permanent. It's just not really in the cards right now.
Okay. And I had one other quick thing is what is streetlight data? I know what the pneumatic tubes are, but I don't know how you gather traffic data from streetlights.
No, it's not from streetlights. It's just, they should have really thought about that when they named it. It's a big data source that that collects data from CV vehicles. It used to be GPS data, and now they use sensors to validate. It's their name. It's not how they collect the data.
Yeah, it's Bluetooth data, granted, origin
Oh,
destination is. Yeah.
okay, so it's still
Yeah.
Bluetooth. I don't know.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. Not a great, maybe not a great naming convention for other transportation solutions, but yeah, it's
No,
one
yeah.
that we've used across the board. But yeah, I would say still no replacement for true data collection on the ground.
Yeah, but we have validated based off of what we were getting on pneumatic tubes, and it was within like 1 or 2 miles per hour.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's good.
so on local roads too, which is good because it's like the higher volume roadways get better data, but we were seeing some good numbers on the local roads.
Good. Great. Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Lance?
Yeah, just I guess extending quick builds to intersection treatments. I just saw a really good presentation from some fella in California, and they identified a lot of crashes at these 4-lane by 2-lane intersections, and he presented these mini roundabouts that they used a bunch of plastic pieces and whatnot. Do you have anything like that in the works?
So those are some of the treatments that we're proposing in the traffic calming plan.
Okay,
Some
great.
quick build roundabouts, traffic circles, those kinds of things, because at the end of the day, with how tight all of our budgets are, and with the looming property tax over us, we're looking at what we can do for smaller amounts of money.
Okay.
I'll just quickly jump in. The initiative to drive down the speed limits reminded me of when we went to where did I go? This SS4A conference that I did a presentation. One of the panelists with me was from Jacksonville, and they have a 20 is plenty campaign. I think that might even be an organization, 20 is plenty, but was a good catchphrase that people seemed to be really latching onto if you wanted to or needed to or thought it would be advantageous to assign some sort of catchphrase to it or something. But 20 is plenty is what they use in Jacksonville to sort of promote a similar kind of product, and that's part of their city's Vision Zero plan. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up as another maybe source of information or expertise, I guess. Couldn't think of the word.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great that they are part of our research. So they
Okay.
were a part of our research when we looked at who was doing this around the state, around the country, that kind of thing. I wouldn't even mind if people are interested having maybe somebody from Jacksonville come and make a presentation here about that and where they are with it. I think that might be.
I got a good contact for you. We're working as a group to create like the panel. So and even I think they have they might have they definitely sent me the slides somewhere. They sent the whole conference people slides that attended this session. I could maybe look for those and pass those on. But yeah, we could work with Nick and have them come. So.
Yeah, I think that would be great. And maybe if we wanted to do an in-person one for that, maybe we could get a couple different speakers about safety across the state or country, depending on what's feasible. Just some thoughts for the MPO. All right, does anyone else have anything before we move on? All right, seeing none, we have Manatee County Transportation Safety Improvements. Is Augustina, are you giving that presentation?
No, Corin. Ogden is, but I think he's having some audio difficulties.
Oh,
Hey, I
see.
think
I
I'm
wasn't
on
sure
now.
about that.
I mean, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
we
we
can hear you.
can.
Okay, excellent. And I apologize ahead of time. I'm in a cubicle farm over here in our new building on Town Center, so there's probably going to be a lot of audio chatter, but I am on the handset of my phone. So my hands are kind of full. I'm going to go ahead and free up one of my hands. And go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully you guys can see this. Maybe somebody confirm that that's showing up, because
Yeah,
I've
that's
had
showing up.
all kinds of tech
Yep, I
problems.
see it.
All right, cool.
I'm gonna
I got
send
all
a
kinds of
link
stuff.
in the chat to your web page. That's kind of referencing
Okay,
this.
yeah, good. Then I'm going to go through it, and hopefully, really, that's what I really hope to do today. I'll roll through this presentation real quick, but just wanted to almost kind of like run a demo or pull up the website and let folks get a chance to kind of see what we're doing, and then show some of the features just so you can understand what we're doing from an outreach perspective. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Ogden Clark. I work with Manatee County. I'm actually within their communications division. My official title is Communications Coordinator. For a period of time, I was underneath Public Works, but now I've moved into our government relations department and basically handle everything under the sun Public Works related to communication. So everything from our CIP projects to things that are going on, like we're going to talk about today, that are smaller scale, that are safety improvements, and not to the degree of a capital improvement program project, and really just all of our active stuff that's going on, our detours, our announcements about road work, things like that are being coordinated. And then, of course, anytime we get any media inquiries about our projects or people want to know what's getting funded in the upcoming years and things, that also falls into my wheelhouse as well. So most of you are probably familiar with Manatee County. For those that don't know, this gives you kind of a good idea of the population, what makes up the county, and the 740 square miles that we're kind of responsible for providing the transportation infrastructure and maintaining it for Manatee County. And so today we want to talk about our low-cost transportation safety improvement program. It is a program that is relatively new. It's kind of unfurled behind the scenes, but from the public-facing side of it, it is really the type of project and the type of speed management strategy that we've put in place and worked to kind of address the safety concerns, the speeding concerns with things kind of similar to what Corinne was talking about with what's going on in Sarasota County. You're trying to do it at a cost-effective way. It could be something simple like striping. It could be something simple like one of those mini roundabouts or a raised crosswalk, things of that nature that don't require huge design budgets to get underway. The way that I like to think of them, or the way that when I'm talking to people in the community, is that they're kind of like an out of the box type of solution. The type of thing that if somebody said, hey, I don't want it here, I want it at a different spot on a different road, it could easily be picked up, moved, and accommodate those concerns from the community, but also you wouldn't be dealing with like utility relocates and property acquisition that maybe you bought, but now you're going to move to a different location. All those things are kind of thought about and are part of this program in a way to reduce cost, to reduce the speed that it takes to deliver the project. And so I'll just kind of highlight some of the things that we really try to use to identify the project, which is they're quick build. They happen really, really fast. You're using low-cost materials, things that are flexible, things that kind of work within the existing footprint. You don't have to come out and, like I mentioned, acquire land or work with the utility companies to do relocates, which can sometimes add cost upon cost to a project. And then, of course, the last thing is just that they are the type of thing that when we've implemented them, sometimes somebody will say, "Hey, this is great, but I walk at night and there's not good lighting. Maybe some of the things that we put in." Need additional infrastructure that needs to go in. So it gives us the ability to adapt. It also gives us the ability to get the communities to start talking. What our current life cycle for a project looks like within this low-cost program is that first we're identifying the issue, and so it's kind of one of those things where we do have some data that shows us places where we want to be able to kind of address these safety concerns, but probably more so the type of thing that is probably driving it the most is community input. So you think about it from a perspective, you get people that will, call to complain or write to complain or reach out to their elected official. People really, want to see something either change or they've got a safety concern in the community. They're pushing that. And when it reaches us, a lot of times we'll, have capital improvement projects, things that we can point people to. But sometimes not anything for an immediate need, something as specific as, my kids cross school here every single day and I have safety concerns, or my kids get dropped off on a bus and they're walking home this way and there's nothing safe here. Those type of requests, and it allows us to be rapid. What we'll basically try to do is get some data, look at existing data, try to do that in a way that again keeps the cost low. And then, as I've kind of mentioned, we've got these out-of-the-box type solutions, kind of like tools in the toolbox, so to speak, or tools in the tool belt that, I wouldn't say one size fits all, because sometimes sizing does need to be changed and adjusted a bit. But for all intents and purposes, we'll call them, pretty much out of the box type of solutions. And we'll take those concepts, we'll look at a couple of those different options to see exactly what works and what fits. I'm going to roll through that too. You get a chance to kind of see that and what we looked at with a specific project. And then the actual implementation, the piece that I handle the most is the actual public outreach, the engagement with the community. And, we'll talk a little bit about how we're doing that and maybe why we're doing it the way that we're doing it, just in terms of sometimes when you have a result and you need to get a result, sometimes it's more effective to just go out there and kind of push things forward. And you do that and you get a lot of reaction from the community, but it starts the dialogue, it gets people, and it also allows you to deliver a project, as I said, with the flexibility that you have. Maybe you've letting people know you're coming out and doing the work, and it is another opportunity for that discussion and for us to deliver a product that meets the community's needs. So we'll go ahead and give a quick example of that. This is Morgan Johnson Road. It is just south of State Road 64, and our newly constructed 44th Avenue connects at this segment to the south, and basically north-south connector here in Manatee that is originally kind of part of a very rural community. So the character of that road has changed over time, and right now it is seeing a very high volume of traffic, lots and lots of people using it as a thoroughfare, and yet you've got a lot of residential communities. You don't have, if you hang on one second, I gotta hold this phone here, but if you look kind of in this area, you've got a lot of like residential communities that are, I would call them dead-ended into this region here. So you have a lot of residential people that live all up and down this road, and the issue is with so much thoroughfare, so much traffic. You've also got a elementary school here, right dead in the middle, which has caused lots of safety concerns, whether it's speeding, whether it's pedestrian, whether it's there's no place to ride a bike. All of those type of things have been brought to the county's attention over time. And as a matter of fact, it's a road that we had talked about adding capacity to, but really right now, the appetite of the Board of County Commissioners is to keep this the rural road that it is right now and to not push to add capacity, to just kind of keep it as more of a residential type road, which I think, you know, when we talk about context classifications and we talk about some of those type of things, it's a good thing because it's looking at the uses of this roadway and who lives there and who's around it. So some of the things that we were hearing were about being able to cross the road. You had sidewalk, but you didn't have stuff on both sides. We had that high traffic volume going on, and you've got a posted speed of 40 miles per hour. And that was at the time. Now it's posted at 35. The board did make a change to that. And then you had the sidewalk connectivity that was there, but you had some missing things that were kind of encouraging people to do things that might have been a little bit more dangerous, crossing in places where it wouldn't be advised. And so we looked at locations where these problems had either been reported to us or that they were the type of thing that we were seeing. We had evidence, either accidents, data, that type of thing. So we started looking at our options. And so this was one of our design team working on a roundabout, what we would call a mini roundabout, trying to look and see if this is the type of thing that would help with speed management and that could also connect to the sidewalk, kind of enhancing pedestrian safety, and then also being something that could be cost effective to install. And what ended up happening during the course of our design and project is that the roundabout, while you know, it was going to serve a lot of the purposes and things that we would want to see, whether it was community feedback or whether it was just purely the math, we'll call it, to be able to fit these things in there, we opted for a different tool. So again, going to that flexibility, that adaptability of saying, all right, if this doesn't work, we've got another tool in the tool belt, looking at raised crosswalks. So those raised crosswalks kind of, you know, they're standard things, different striping, painting, things that will enhance the safety and the really the visibility of those locations. And then, as I mentioned, you're close to a school, so you've got a lot of school traffic, you've got a lot of kids on this really busy thoroughfare, and you're kind of being able to improve the safety and do so in a very cost-effective way. Design on this is not very heavy. You're just pretty much adding a pile of asphalt onto the roadway. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but you know, once you've got the standards for the actual crosswalk, the type of paint you're using, how much you need to order, all those kind of things, it can really kind of streamline the project. Working with the contractors, they kind of get the hang of it, so to speak. It allows them to kind of move a little bit more quicker once they start knocking these things out. And as I mentioned, the design is really something that you know, I don't have anything to do with, but is really where the next piece comes from. So once we have a design here from the county, and keep in mind these programs, unlike our CIP or capital improvement program, when we you know, we don't really have a requirement for public outreach on a lot of on any of our projects, except for when we're doing stuff with the state. But when we do, you know, have those type of projects that are big and, you know, maybe take 5 years to roll out, those are the type of things where we are doing high levels of outreach. We are, you know, trying to get the word out about those projects. We're doing press releases, maybe have public meetings and those kind of things. This is the, I wouldn't say the opposite, but it is very, very different in the sense that these are targeted type of outreach that we want to do. And in a lot of cases, this is not going to the board. It all comes out of one lump sum that gets budgeted each year. So it's comes out of a budget that we're getting for low cost traffic safety improvements. It doesn't put a label on it. It doesn't put us in a box the way a project of record in our CIP would, where it says you're going to build a traffic signal or you're going to build a roundabout at this location. This gives us the flexibility to basically say, all right, we've got a pot of money, and as a user requests and things either come in or are identified by staff and by data, it gives us the ability to rapidly respond to be able to get that solution, that type of tool to improve it. So another example of the final design and what we were putting out. And then I want to talk a little bit about the outreach, just from the standpoint of what I know a little bit more about, and that is how you get something like this in the community. And as many of you on this call probably are aware, it's very difficult for county government, for city government to come in and keep everyone happy, right? So a lot of times, a lot of the things that we're doing, it's probably keeping 50% of the people happy. Maybe sometimes that number is a little bit different, but in general, let's just say, for every single person that you can try to keep happy by installing a roundabout or putting in a crosswalk, you've also got 50% of the people who say that's dumb, I don't like it, stupid, you shouldn't do it. I've heard it all on the phone talking to people, and the nice thing about this compared to a CIP project that is kind of like a train speeding down a hill that you can't stop, and it's kind of already decided and had a lot of moving parts, and all that stuff happened 5 years ago. This gives us the ability to take that feedback, have that outreach, and be able to maybe make some changes, or say maybe this is not the best location, or maybe if we were going to put in 6 of these things, maybe we only need 2 or 3. So it gives some flexibility. The way that we're doing this from an outreach standpoint is this is a mock-up of one of our traffic signs that we will put out. These are just like the signs that you would see that say house for sale or yard sale. These are the small, little tiny signs. And it's funny because we use a lot of big signs on our projects and things, and I've even had a lot of people come to me and say, why are you doing these little signs? This is stupid. I will tell you, when you put these signs out there, I've been contacted more by these signs than I have from things that I've left on people's doors, door to door, than from direct mailers, than from our big signs that are out on our CIP projects. I mean, I don't know why these things work, but they do. And what's nice about them is because our target audience is usually generally at a location, so to speak. Thinking of Morgan Johnson, it may be that intersection, we would want to let the homeowners on each corner know, and maybe some of the residences that are, up the street and that kind of thing. But this gives those folks that live in that specific area the ability to say, hey, what's going on? I see these signs from the county. Scan the QR code. And what that's going to do is bring you to a project website that really kind of shows what our intent is to do. And we try to do that 6 to 8 weeks out. So once you put those signs out there, I assure you start to get all these phone calls from people. And it's not always, it doesn't sound good because it sounds like we're going out there and we're trying to force these things down people's throat. But by just going out and saying, hey, we're thinking of doing something, this is what we think we're going to do, it starts a conversation in the community that you start to get a sense of which people are in support, which things are palatable for the community, which things that maybe, in some cases it's gone all the way up to the level of commissioner, where the commissioners are getting phone calls about what they're seeing, and, they may come to us and say, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to do this, or I don't think we need to do as many as you're showing here. Maybe we can cut that back. So this sign is really where a lot of that starts. It really, and it also has the website on there for you. That is the quick link, the mymanatee.org/safety. That will get you to the website. I am going to pull that up here in just a minute. This is just a screenshot of what that website looks like, and gives you an idea of on the actual page. We've got a couple different things that we've got listed. This is the project page, and I just want to show you some visuals real quick of the work that was going on at Morgan Johnson. So, you know, it is somewhat invasive, so that is why we want to do the project outreach. We will let people know that it's coming, that it's going to impact their daily commute, and you know, kind of where they live, how that's going to look, and letting them know the schedule, timing, all that kind of stuff on the website allows them to kind of feel like they've got skin in the game, to feel like they're part of it and like they have access to that information. And then these are some of the before afters, kind of show you what the intersection looked like before and then what it looks like after we get done with one of the raised crosswalks. The intent of these, of course, is to like not launch cars up into the air, but for them to be kind of a gentle ride up, but also get them to slow down. Same thing here with this one and this one as well. So these are the before and afters from a couple different angles, and you're also seeing what it looks like from the ground level as people go over it. You can see that it's not very disruptive, but you get a natural slowing effect as people go by. It also has signage with the flashing beacons and things like that. So we're seeing a lot more of those around the state, around our region. And then this just kind of demonstrated that we did see the drop off in speed. So from an average speed, looking at what it looked like before in just at the beginning of the year through like March, April, and then what the typical speed is looking like afterwards. So, you know, I mean, that is to have the data to back it up, to be able to show people from the community, to be able to say, hey, it was effective. Some of the things that were, you know, you're saying, I hear you, but here's where it has been successful in the community before. These are some of the upcoming projects that we have. And then, as I mentioned, I've got the link up here. I've got some stuff there. But what I would really like to do is to pull up the website just real quick so I can give you an idea of some different things just to highlight from an outreach standpoint. So as I mentioned up here in our website, we have upcoming projects, and then we've got our active projects, and then we actually have completed projects. And what I like about doing that is that with the completed projects, not only do you have like, you know, your recent success and how it's been implemented, but you've also got a archive of all the places that you've been, all the places where you did the work. And it's nice when somebody wants to see one of these things, you can always point them to where they could see one of these type of safety improvements in action, where they've been implemented, and where they've worked out. So just to kind of give you an idea, other than that, we've got the 3 different stages of projects, and then below that, we've got a map that highlights pretty much all of our different types of projects, the different types of solutions. So if they're a raised intersection, if they're a roundabout, if they're a raised crosswalk, we've got a couple other things that we'll be adding to this list with some projects that are being implemented. And then we also tied into the page the actual road closures. So when you've got work going on, and even though this work is kind of small, I mean, you'll see we've got some stuff that is being impacted by it, even up here at Morgan Johnson right now, where we're doing that. And that work shows here, and just like with the pop-up, it's giving information about the detours and things of that nature. So it kind of gives people kind of like a one-stop shop for all of these things, and we do direct a lot of people here. What I wanted to highlight was kind of just some of the things that happen on these project websites and why they are really useful to people in the public. For an upcoming project, like our El Conquistador Parkway project, First of all, it's giving you an update, just letting people know. This could be something like, hey, there's a public meeting about the project coming up. You could have the dates and that type of thing, or you could have a upcoming detour, something that's changing. You've got a ability to put that banner up. And then what we've done is basically incorporated those design elements that are basically either coming from a third party or from in-house here at the county. But we're bringing those out to kind of show the optics of what is going to happen. So if you live in one of these communities and things, you see this basically a mini roundabout and being implemented, and you actually see what we're talking about doing to a 4-lane road is taking it down to just a one lane in each direction, 2-lane road, and adjusting so that we can kind of control the speed. And this is, again, general information about the why of why we're doing the project, and where maybe in some cases we may show some crash history, or we may show why other solutions are not feasible. It also has an update history, so we had the public information meeting, and then we've got some pictures from our public meeting at the library, just kind of let people know that we actually had one. Always put a map up here with, in this case, this shows the limits of the actual area where they're talking about doing the improvements. And then you can have documents associated with the project. So as a user in the public, you can come here, and this is essentially all the information that was presented at the public meeting. So that is a useful tool for people that are trying to get, let me get rid of that. We've also got a FAQ section down here. It lets people know kind of what they could expect to see, the type of questions that they would be getting. And then lastly, I've got surveys on some of these pages. So if you really were, in a lot of cases we're not, but if you wanted to go to the community and you said, hey, we have this or this, you could ask those questions. Or, I'll use a totally different direction, not from a traffic safety improvement type of thing, but from a street lighting standpoint. We here in the county have our Light Up Manatee program in Manatee, and that is a program to get street lights on existing poles and infrastructure. And it could be something as simple as going to the community and showing them 2 examples, basically what it would look like if we put in 400 lights, or what it would look like if we put in 200, like half as many. And you can share that information, collect feedback about it. It could be same thing with these type of things. I think for this one, we're asking questions like, what do you perceive as the biggest problem? What would you like to see? One of the questions that I really liked that kind of helps us from a design perspective is asking people on El Conquistador, the 4-lane roadway, as far as if you want the wide sidewalk, or if a 6-foot sidewalk would be okay, and what side of the road you want it on. Because if it's like, hey, we can only build one of these, or we can only get one of these things, for the first year or something like that, just helps us be able to prioritize things. Same thing from an intersection standpoint, and you always get some really interesting information from this data. It's all tied into ArcGIS, so for a lot of cities, counties, and things, they've already got those resources and are familiar with using it. The next one I want to show you, so that was an upcoming project. So that one's kind of a little bit less information. This one here is an active project on Palmasola, where you can see the current crosswalk that's there. We put some signs out. I started to get some phone calls. Everybody's really excited about this. And as a matter of fact, they're doing their own improvement out by the water, and they were like, hey, is there something we can do eventually to connect these sidewalks and to kind of improve the amenities that we have in our community? So that was a success story in the sense that the outreach resulted in people wanting to reach out, ask questions, kind of turned into a conversation about some things that they had planned, and has us in a situation where as we move forward and in the years to come, as they make that improvement, that they basically have been considered, and that's part of our vision. We've also got some pictures that we can pull up that basically show what's happening, what it looks like in this was in May as it was being installed, and I was going in there and give you an idea of kind of what that product looks like. And then one thing I want to highlight, if you're a member of the public and you come here, and this is, yes, okay. So if you lived in one of these neighborhoods, you could come here and you could do what they call follow. So if you wanted to follow this page, it's going to ask me to log in because I have an Esri account. But basically, as a member of the community, you could create a hub account. You could do so using your Facebook account, your Google, your Apple account, however. And basically, by creating that account, which is a Manatee County hub account through GIS, now these folks are following the page. And anytime that there's an update, so anytime I come up here and I want to add something to these updates or put something in as far as construction that's going on, I have the ability also to push that out to anybody that's signed up, that's followed that page. So basically what I've got for each one of these projects is a small, albeit small, email list for each group of people that are interested in this specific project. And you think about that from the perspective of people that come to a county website. A lot of times what they're doing, they're coming there to like pay their water bill, or they're coming there to just like do one thing. And a lot of times what we found was that a lot of people are just coming to see something about a project that's going on in their neighborhood. So by kind of rolling it out this way, we've created a landing place for them to kind of feel like they're included, that it's really easy for them to find the information, to not be drowned into a list of 186 capital improvement program projects and, a map that's got every single one of those, and then, potable water and reclaim water, all of those things all kind of just lumped together. This is just for the community that's by there, that honestly they probably, unless their water or their immediate county services stop, they probably don't have much to say, and they're probably not complaining much. But this gives them some place to go, gives them that information. All right, so that was an upcoming. That was a active. So I'll show you the Morgan Johnson one. What ended up happening, we showed some roundabouts, but these were the 4 locations where we did the improvements. This is a completed project, so you can see there's a much longer update type of section, but it talks about when those things were finished and completed. And when construction moved to a different section, we've got all the pictures of the ongoing stuff and kind of what they look like when they were done. And then, as I mentioned, we do this project map, which gives people the ability to kind of see different locations, bookmarks on the actual mapping, allows users to kind of figure out maybe they're only even interested in what's going on in their one spot or location. And I think that's about it that I wanted to show. I think you probably have some questions and things maybe that we wanted to get to.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ogden.
Yeah, no problem.
We'll ask questions for now, just for in the interest of time. Does anyone have any questions or thoughts that they want to share with Ogden?
No, it just looks like a great resource, and thanks for sharing it. I think we'll definitely be checking in on the page to see project updates and such. It's very detailed.
Yep, thank you guys.
Patrick, did you have something you want to say?
I know. I'm like just
You
like
unmuted, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, I did. I was thinking. I was like, I was. You're right, Ogden. Like, I guess I kind of fall into the category of someone who just kind of looks at their page, kind of like in the neighborhood they're in. I live in Manatee County, and I was looking at a particular safety project on Honore, the raised crosswalks, and I guess one thing I was wondering from a even a resident perspective, because people in my neighborhood talk about safety stuff like on our neighborhood Facebook page and stuff. Do the projects, like, even like, let's just use the raised crosswalk one on Honore for example? Do you have like do you ever post things about the justification of it? Like someone might look at it and be like, well, why are they even doing that? Like
Yeah.
I know you have a project update, but does it link you back to the why anywhere?
Yeah, so part of the thing that I would say from the why perspective is in that generally we try to put it in a project overview that's on that main page. So for instance, the Honore one, and that's one that's kind of being what I would say manipulated, and that one is like really loose too on the justification. I would
Uh-huh.
say that in most most cases, like another one that's on that page, if you wanted to get a good sense of kind of what we've done underneath the completed projects, there's one for the 51st Street West roundabouts, and
Uh-huh.
that ended up being put in right in front of GT Bray Park. And the justification was really in depth for that one because there's a dog park and there were some things that we had to address. There were a lot of complaints from the community about a better, safer crossing there, especially with it being such a popular park and being tied into it. But there were some limitations because of how close it was to other additional ingress egress that are coming into 51st, to where we didn't really have a good option other than a mini roundabout. And so, mini roundabout, we did get a lot of pushback from that in that sense, but we had to really kind of beef up the justification and the explanation why. What I can tell you about the Honore one is that that's a 100% example of how you can never keep everybody happy,
Yeah,
because for every email or every phone call that I get of somebody that's saying this is horrible, why are you doing this, this is terrible, I have another message for another support that is like, I've been waiting for this, thank you so much, I can't wait to see it. And then we've kind of adjusted that page a little bit because we went from 4 locations down to only 2 locations. And once even that happened, a whole new group of people started reaching out and
Yeah, I
saying,
think we can all
I,
sympathize with the not
yeah,
being able to satisfy
yeah,
everybody. I think the one thing that I do
yeah,
like about the page you guys did was your FAQ at the bottom was actually, I think, really nice and simple. Anyway, that's just a I'll just
yeah.
comment on that. So,
We try to keep those, like, I would say, pretty generalized so that, I can move them from one to the next. The simple questions about property acquisition, impacts to the community, those type of things. And then to your point, for each one, you can add some specific things. There may be something that you need to add in there as far as who the contractor is or something like that. And it just gives you kind of a really good template to roll these things out to almost kind of cookie cutter is how I would describe it. But with each one of these, like I said, you get the ability to have somebody that can follow it, and it works better on the CIP projects that usually take 2-3 years for them to be under construction. These are usually pretty fast and
okay.
in and out. So, but yeah, it's just a good place to get that information, and definitely try to include the why when we can, or
Yeah.
when we've got the need to.
All right.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
I have one other question, but if we don't have time for it, I totally understand.
Can you make it? I mean, we have
Okay,
10 minutes left and we have 3
okay,
agenda
Ogden,
items
I'm gonna
and a
ask you a
wants to run a
question,
table.
and then you need to answer it. And if you can answer in 30 seconds, that's our goal. Okay. The race crosswalk idea, that Morgan Johnson example, and you're tracking the speed and it was declining. Were you so a lot of like that's over the whole course of the corridor, right? Like you're not finding that people are just slowing down near the race crosswalks and then maybe speeding again in between and then slowing down. Are you seeing it? You're seeing
It is over
consistent.
the corridor.
Okay.
Yeah, it is over
Okay.
the corridor, is my understanding. I can
Okay.
confirm for you, Patrick, and I can reach out afterwards
All right.
and
Thanks.
just to make sure. All right. Yep. No
Thank you.
problem.
All right. Well, thank you, Ogden. Great presentation, good information. Really great to see Manatee County moving forward with sharing information with the community. Love to see it. All right, so we're going to move into the Safe Streets and Roads for All jurisdiction updates. We have Sarasota County, so I'm assuming that's Patrick.
Yeah. Just an update. We did apply for a implementation grant at the end of May. We'll find out if I think the award announcements are at the end of the year, so we got a while to wait. But we did apply for 2 intersection projects, one on Beneva across from Red Bug Slough, connecting to Red Bug Slough, another on North Lockwood Ridge, across from one of the temples of worship. There's some heavy pedestrian activity there. So anyway, that's what we applied for, and we'll see what we get, and we'll move forward with other projects as we're able to.
Okay, Manatee County. Any update on your SS4A?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. There's not a lot of update since our last meeting, where I'd informed that we have completed our action plan. We've put it into practice. It's publicly available. We've started using that as our source for identifying projects for capital improvements, low cost improvements. And we did, just adding on to what Ogden said, we are using our SS4A plan for identifying low cost improvement locations as well. Because we, as part of our SS4A, we had developed a GIS based tool where we can refresh our data sets and use that GIS based tool to identify locations with issues based on different criteria, like vicinity to parks, land uses, number of lanes, speed limits, etc. And it helps us identify safety improvement projects. So whilst we had our first go at it beginning of this year for the project identification cycle, we intend to continue to use that. And we also have a sidewalk program that sort of feeds into this local road safety action plan. So if you go to our website, 59th Street is one of those projects that was identified as part of, like, a low cost improvement where we could improve safety around schools and GT Bray along the entire length of corridor for people walking and traveling and using that corridor. So yeah, that's about it. But like I said, we've got our plan already in action, and we're using it now to give us a data-driven, information-based approach to identify and implement projects.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Agustina. Anyone from Holmes Beach? Okay.
Were there any other SS4A implementation? Like, Corinne, do you know if did you guys apply for anything?
Yes, we
Or-
did.
You did? Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So no one from Holmes Beach? Okay, we're going to move into once around the table. Just raise your hand. Does anyone have something? Okay, Rich.
Thank you very much. This is the Florida Bicycle Association report. In the chat, you will find I put our education campaign, a link to it, where we've done about 60 articles to educate, which is consistent, I think, with John's report, and I thought that was excellent. So we have developed an education campaign that's being very aggressive throughout the community, and I urge you all to pass it on. Additionally, we're doing outreach, including bike rodeos. I think, Corinne, we're going to do that big one in Sarasota right before school starts. And we're doing one also on e-bikes for teenagers this weekend. On a national level, I did meet with others, with Congressman Buchanan, regarding a very important bill that he's proposed. It's called the America Bikes Act, House HR 941, which is going to provide additional funds and assistance to FDOT so we can have better safety, infrastructure, education, and accessibility. And that's the end of the report. Anybody that would like to, work closer with us, just let me know. I'm more than happy to work with anybody and carry things forward. Thank you. Good reports.
Thanks, Rich. All right. Anything else? Anybody else have a once around the table? Patrick?
I just had a quick, if anybody had I hadn't looked at the Safe Streets by Design report yet in depth, but does anybody have a hot take on it or anything? Should we be discussing that report in this
We're
forum at
moving
all?
down.
We're moving down. Okay.
I think we were 15.
Okay. What were we the last report?
I think the last report we were 19,
19.
but
Okay.
I remember years ago we were like number 4.
Yeah, right. Yep. I
Yeah.
remember when I first started, I think we were like even 2, like
Yeah, it was
yeah.
crazy.
Okay.
So we've
Okay.
definitely trend is downward.
Okay. It's funny because we have our own statistic profiles that say, hey, our trends are going down, but then I think that report kind of puts us on a light where it doesn't have that same vibe, I guess, you know. I feel like that report is always it's more like, oh, you guys, this area is doing bad, but I feel like our internal data and our numbers that we're even talking about today, we're showing that we're trending differently. Anyway, there's a weird dynamic going on there, I think. Yep.
Can I comment on that?
Could I just
Sure.
add what Patrick said? I think the issue we find is that within on county roads, the trend's definitely downward, but when you include state roads in that stat,
Okay, sure.
change, and that's where the disconnect. It's not disconnect, but that's where we only have control over county roads. But when we look
That's a
at the
good point.
data, there's a lot of things happening on state road network on which we have limited control or no control.
Okay.
And remember, it's the urbanized area. So it's
Right.
not just Sarasota County. It's not just Manatee County. It's combined,
Right.
right?
Okay.
It's our urbanized area. So it's really looking at those combined statistics. John?
I was just gonna hit on, I mean, Agostino, one point I would make is just looking at the Signal 4 data from 25 and 26 that's in there. It's only 52% of the fatal and serious injury crashes are on the state system. So I would be mindful of that when you're looking at it. I will agree that these numbers are going down. And if anybody is to make a statement, I would like to be included in on it because we're kind of doing the same thing over here. That is, do we need to address it? How do we address it? Those kind of type things, as there are a couple news media inquiries out there.
Yeah.
Definitely, John. I've been looking at crash stats, and I know I'm speaking a downward trend on county roads up till 2023, like from 2019 to 23. I'm yet to just see that curve in comparison over the last couple of years with the latest data sets.
Gotcha.
Paula?
Yes, to what John was saying about the news media, there was a recent article in the Herald Tribune which I took issue with in the way they framed it. It about the latest report. I think, well, to me, they just singled out Sarasota, but as you mentioned, it is for the Northport, Braden, Sarasota metro area. But I have always had issues with that report in general, just because of how we're being compared to other states and as far as how our infrastructure is set up. And then we also have whether that is geared more towards being able to ride your bicycle more often than not. So I've always had issues with this report in general, but I did not like the framing of the most recent article that was out there, considering we have been trending downward.
Yeah. Thank you, Paula. And Lance, if it's about this will be like the last comment before we open it back up to once around the table.
That's fine. That's fine. So if you look at the rankings, our ranking is improving, but if you look at the stats, it's more because those other communities got way worse and we're not doing that much better. So ranking wise, that's great, but we still have a lot of room to improve. It's not to say that we're absolutely killing it here. Probably a poor choice of words, but
no pun intended.
Right.
Okay, thank you, Lance. Okay, anyone else have anything to share with once around the table? I would just like to announce that we did fill our senior transportation planner position. You might know her, you might not. Her name's Nina Venter. She's on here. She used to work at the MPO and now she works with the city. So we're really happy to have her on board working with us. So congratulations, Nina. Other than that, I don't have anything else to add at this time.
Thank you. Congrats, Nina.
Okay, does anyone else have anything they would want to add for once around the table?
When's the next meeting, Corinne?
October 5th.
Okay.
All right, with that being said, the next meeting is October 5th. It's going to be virtual. It's 10 a.m. And then I'll adjourn at 11:59 a.m. Thanks, everyone.